Good morning and good afternoon, wherever you all are zooming in from. Welcome to BraveMaker's Mastermind. This is Monday, August 19th, 2024. We're recording this. We'll put all of these conversations onto our archive. So if you are with us live or watching from the replay, all of the links are on that document that you have been shared. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you can DM me and we'll make sure we get that in there. But before we start talking with Denise about the dark of night, I just want to give you a couple quick updates. Next week, we have Matthew Libman, who is the co-creator, producer, and writer of Mr. Throwback. That's the Adam Pally, Steph Curry show that's on Peacock, mockumentary, 6 episodes. He also was a part of How I Met Your Father. So check out Matthew and Matthew's work and come ready next week for some questions. Following week is Labor Day, no meeting. And then we'll go into the second week of September is going to be feedback and hot seats, as we call them. So if you have a project that you want to do a table read or show us a rough cut of a short or a scene or anything like that, you want to do a monologue if you're an actor, you want to show us some illustrations you're working on for a book, whatever it is, just let me know and we'll slot you in. And we have 20-minute sections for people to do hot seat feedback sessions. You also get free mixers with your membership in BraveMaker, 20% off our classes, 50% off our film events, like the festival passes are all half off. Our Halloween party on Saturday, October 26th. Mark your calendar, that's half off. Tickets are $25. You get half off of that. And then we just have not announced this yet, but we have a scheduled mixer at the coffee bar in Redwood City, which is free to you all on September 27th. I believe that is a Friday. Let me just double check because I just got, Friday, September 27th. So we're going to do a mixer there. If you were at the last one, it's DJ, music, food, wine, beer, and just connecting and hanging out. So that's all free. So I'll put that stuff in the email that we have out to you all. And with no further ado, let's get to our chat with Denise Meyers. Hello, Denise from North Carolina today. Glad that you're here. All of you have watched her film, hopefully, The Dark of Night, which was in the email we sent out. But we're going to get to go in, and I always like backstories, origin stories. And Denise, you kind of have a really wild and long one. I mean, the fact that you freaking were on One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is like, what? It's pretty amazing. So let's do the X version, the Twitter version, backstory, because we don't have like 5 hours because you got a lot of things to share. So however you want to summarize, how'd you get into this entertainment industry?
Well, just to sort of stretch this out, because there's definitely highs, but then there's been lots of times where absolutely nothing has happened.
Right.
I love that you asked about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest because I was 15 years old, no lie, and we were reading One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in our psychology class in high school. And being young and naive, it didn't occur to me not to ask if someone from the set would come to our class and talk to us about what they were filming. They were filming at the Oregon State Mental Hospital. And much to my surprise, Joel Douglas, who is Michael Douglas's brother, said, sure, why not? So he came out and talked to the class, and then I kind of got an all access pass. I could go anytime I wanted to. So I was there for some really important scenes. And it was
Amazing.
very funny because I think the most hysterical memory I have of that is Scatman Crothers, who was a terrific character actor, very old, played one of the orderlies, came up to me and he said, did I have a cigarette? And I'm like 15, and that moment I'm like, why do I not have a cigarette? I want to be able to provide this
Always
man with
be
a cigarette.
prepared,
Yeah,
Denise.
no kidding. I know, right? So anyway, I ended up getting a job at the William Morris Agency with an agent named Judy Scott Fox. She handled writers. So I met Cameron Crowe, who I asked out on a date, not realizing that he was already heavily involved with Nancy Wilson from Heart. So that was a little embarrassing. And then I didn't really realize at that time, and sadly, I don't think it's a lot better now, but I spent 12 years writing and trying to make my way into the film business. And if things are not great for women now, they were terrible then. I mean, the best that most women could hope for was like a job as a D girl doing development. And then if she was lucky, maybe marrying the producer that she worked for, the studio executive or whatever. So after 12 years, I'm like, this is bullshit. So I quit writing and I went to work as an artist. And I worked as an artist for about 25 or 30 years. I was the top selling gourd artist in the United States. I sold a single piece of gourd art for $25,000.
Are you talking
But this,
gourd, like a
yeah,
squash gourd
yeah,
thing?
yeah.
What? Googling it right now.
Yeah,
Gourd
yeah,
art. Okay.
yeah. No, DeniseMyers.com. I think I might still have a website and some images on there. But became a gourd artist, did really well at that. But this for me was always like, I just felt like I love movies. I grew up on movies. I wanted to be in movies. And I just felt like there was something missing. I can do this. I know I can do this. So I won an 8-week scholarship at the New York Film Academy. I went to every class, every meeting outside of that, every meetup, every screening, every Q&A session, and just really dedicated myself to learning how to do this. So that brings us kind of up to the dark of night. I met a young woman who worked. Her name is Nene Lee Huen, and she worked for Robin Wright on the House of Cards. And she said, "Do you have anything that I could do for my reel?" Because she's also an actor. In fact, she's in several episodes of House of Cards. And I sent her The Dark of Night, which I had done just as an exercise. Like they gave you, it was the New York. Everything seems to be come out of New York. It was it was some short screenplay contest, and all of you who are writers know. I think the two most terrifying words in the English language are "fade in," because you can spend a week or a month or 25 years of your life writing something. So they gave you a prompt. They gave you a character, a setting, and a time period, or a genre. I'm sorry, excuse me. And I sent it to Nene. She loved it. And here's the part where I know I'm really, really lucky, because most people who do short films, and you and I, Tony, have talked about this, where you're asking people for money and you're asking for equipment and you're asking people to devote their time. Well, the crew of House of Cards is really and truly, they really get the credit for this, because among the crew of House of Cards, they realized that they had a lot of people who trained to do specific jobs and paid a lot of money to go to school to learn those jobs. Like they went to AFI to be directors, or they wanted to be producers, but they're working in catering. They're working in, making sure that everybody's mics are on, or collecting, paperwork at the end of the day. So what they decided to do way before I came on the scene is they decided to use the resources that they had to do the jobs they wanted to do by shooting a short film every season of House of Cards, which I think is absolutely brilliant, because you've got a captive audience. You've got access to some equipment, not all, because, the House of Cards wasn't great about lending that kind of stuff out. But when this came down the pike, it was like, well, this is what we want to do this year for our short film. They'd done 2 or 3 seasons before, but we want to do this as our short film. Is that okay? And I'm like, sure. And initially it was just like a small group of people, and it was being talked about on the set of House of Cards by the crew a lot. So it got back to Robin Wright, who said to Nene, well, why didn't you give me this to read? Well, you're the star of the film and you're directing and you're Robin Wright. And so she read it and she decided she wanted to direct it. And from there, like, these just incredible pieces fell in place. Nene was on a plane to go to the Emmys. She ran into Leslie Bibb. She was sitting beside her. Leslie gave it to Sam. They gave it to Michael Goder and to Callie Thorne, who we're looking at right now. They had the costume designer from House of Cards. They had the camera truck from House of Cards. So everything. It's precious of me to say, oh, isn't it great that I have a short film, because I got really lucky.
Well, it sounds like the luck was also preparation in advance. Like you had a script, you were ready, you had this opportunity to put it into someone's hands. So I want to quickly go back, because I know I read in one of your articles. I think what were you doing on the set? How'd you meet Nene specifically? Because that's where, like, the relationship you developed a relationship with somebody that was then able to take the work that you did and elevate it out. Can you talk a little bit about that relationship and how you got that with Nene?
Yes, absolutely. There's a young an amazing woman. Her name is Denise Hewitt. And Denise Hewitt was trying to do something like the Blacklist, but to make it more accessible to more writers. It really wasn't so much about if you get a 7, we'll send you off to all of our producers and everybody that's subscribed on the other end of it. She introduced me to a man named Bo Gordon, who worked at the time for Kevin Spacey. And Bo Gordon, sounds like you might know who
Yeah.
Bo is. He's wonderful. We were talking about Lucky 13, which is a script that is sort of continued to have variations on a theme and has won a lot of awards and a lot of accolades. But he read when Denise introduced me to Bo, he read Lucky 13 and he asked what I wanted to do with it. And I'm like, I'm not an idiot. I've been a fan of Robin Wright's forever. Well, what about, Robin Wright? I mean, you work for Kevin Spacey. He works with Robin. So he's like, well, I don't know if I can do this or not, but let me start with Robin's assistant, Nene. And so I sent it to Nene, and that's how I met Nene. We're still friends. We still talk all the time. There's a couple of other projects that she and I are working on together to try to get off the ground. But it was just really, everything sort of was in the right place at the right time with the right people. And to be perfectly honest with you, we got into the Cannes Film Festival because Robin knows Terry Russolo. She'd been on the jury once. And then I was expecting these huge shifts in my career, and absolutely nothing happened. Nothing came out of any of that. So
Well, let me back up a second
yeah,
because,
please,
and
because
I
I
remember,
can get way ahead of myself.
yeah, okay, so
Focus me, Tony.
the Nini and the asking and the bow stuff, that was you. We talk a lot about this in BraveMaker, is making your desires known, like
Yeah.
asking for what you want.
Yeah.
And that takes bravery to talk to people, to let them know, just kind of, hey, this is what I want to be doing. I want to be making films. I want to be writing and producing, da da da. So that I applaud you, and using, and I mean, and like leveraging your opportunities. And that's what I take away from that too, which was really, really cool. I'm trying to remember were you a part of Table Read My Screenplay in some way? And how did
Oh
that?
God, yeah. Yeah. I have been part of Table Read My Screenplay, which was really significant part, I think, of The Dark of Night in
So that, okay,
particular.
talk
But
about that story. And real quick, people who don't know that, it is a contest that you submit they have features and I don't know if they do shorts, but they must do shorts because
they
they
did,
do pilots and stuff too,
yeah,
right? I
yeah.
was an actor, a hired actor for 3 years with Table Read My
Oh,
Screenplay.
awesome.
And I got to do the Sundance iteration a couple years, which was
Oh,
so
how
cool.
awesome.
But those of you, who have not checked it out, it's a contest. If they like your script, they bring you out to Sundance and other places, and they have hire actors to do a read through. It's really, really cool. So talk about how that impacted you or how that helped you.
Well, I don't know if this has changed for shorts, but so just to sort of back up again, I've just finished writing a screenplay. It's so hard to get people to read that matter. I mean, you get your friends or your neighbors or someone in the industry. So this short script contest comes along, and they give you the character, the genre, and the setting. I write The Dark of Night. I sent it. My very first place I sent it was to the network ISA Table Read My Screenplay. At this point, I've written 4 or 5 screenplays, but I don't know anything about like how things get seen or how you get in front of people. So I'm going the contest route, and it won the short
Cool.
version. It typically, and I think this might still be the case, they do typically they do the feature, and they'll do the pilot, and they'll do a table read, and they do them in Park City and Hollywood. God, there's a couple of other places that they do them now. But at the time, they recorded the short. They still cast it. They read the whole thing. They send me a recording of it. Of course, I'm sobbing because this is the first time I've ever
Yeah.
heard,
Okay.
my words, right?
That's what I
Yeah.
think I heard. I saw in the interview. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. But it still gave me, it wasn't necessarily that pushed me over the edge with Robin and the House of Cards crew. It just, listening to it just made it feel so real for me. That's something I wanted to do for so long. And then to hear those words was so beautiful. I think I cried through the whole thing. It's not like 15 minutes long, but I think I cried through the whole thing. But I think more than anything, that gave me the courage to keep asking, And honestly, you're absolutely right, because this didn't work out quite as well as what I would have hoped. But I just feel like people kind of get they talk themselves out of asking for what they want. It would be embarrassing. What if they said no? It might break my heart. I always think, what if they said yes?
Yeah. Risk
To
the
just
embarrassment, right? Because they
exactly,
might say yes.
exactly, exactly. And so
So
I actually did that not long ago with she's a big TV actress, and her husband owns one of the biggest management companies. And I don't recommend you do this, but I did it. I guessed at his email address. I sent him an email. He forwarded it to her, and she ended up reading one of my screenplays. She did not agree to do it, but it's just a matter of,
that's
hey, I gotta
great.
I gotta jump off this cliff. I mean, this is what I
Okay.
want to do, and I'd rather hear no than I never tried at all.
That's right. Somebody told me this, and I remember it. The answer is always no if you don't ask,
Yes,
right?
very much
So why
so.
not
Yes,
ask and get a no? Because it could be a yes, right? So, okay.
right.
So what I hear there too is the development process. You're putting yourself out there. You're doing these contests, but just the thing that I think we have the power to do too is to have somebody else read it or do our own table read. Like you got the awesome
Yes,
privilege of winning a contest, but that
yes,
did something for you. That was a development piece
yes.
that I hear, right? Okay, so that's great. Now let's cut to the story again. You just go to Cannes, you're walking the red carpet, and then all of a sudden you're finding yourself going, oh, nothing.
Yeah,
So let's get into the story there. How does that
yeah.
impact you? And then what happens next?
Well, first of all, just as a side note that has nothing to do with the price of peas in China, I am the one that always does all of the vacation planning for my husband and I. I actually believed he did not know how to make an airplane reservation or a hotel reservation. So the opportunity comes to go to Cannes. And it was like 10 days before you were supposed to leave. And I was talking myself out of it. I wasn't going to go. I can't afford it. The airfare is going to be too much. I don't have a dress. I don't, whatever. I just can't. And he's looking at me like, no, no, that's fine. So how do you feel about leaving at Friday at 4 a.m. or whatever? So the process of going to Cannes and being at Cannes and being a part of that was absolutely tremendous. I got treated like I was an A-list star. I came back to my room one day and all my credentials were there and all the paperwork was there and everything I needed was there. The one funny side note is I kept my dress in a bag thinking that that would protect it. And when I took it out, the thing was a wrinkled mess. And in that moment, it's sort of the same thing. Like, I am going to be on a red carpet with Robin Wright, and no one is going to be looking at me at all. So who cares if my dress is wrinkled? But we got in there, we did the screening. It was really wonderful. And I really thought I was going to be able to do something significant with this. This does not, I mean, none of these things come together. Sam Rockwell had just finished Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which they actually shot in North Carolina, interestingly enough. And the next film he does is mine. Like, how can I not make
Right.
something magnificent and huge out of this? And I didn't. It wasn't for lack of trying. Don't get me wrong, but it was just it's a short film and it's a period piece. And yes, it was at Cannes, and I know it had Sam Rockwell, but there were just all of these things that just sort of ended up kind of draining the life out of it a little bit. And then not long after that, I ended up winning a Sloan Foundation development grant for another project. And I thought, okay, now this is it. This is where we're starting. And that didn't work either. So I think if your question is, how, what were the highs and what were the lows, it was great to go and see this film get made and be on this set and be so much a part of the process. But it seems like anymore that's not really what Hollywood is about. And everything is harder than I think it should be, because God knows that the talent is out there. And in terms of the table read, that's one of the things I've really been looking more to. I think we all know actors, whether they're good actors or bad actors or famous actors or not. Just hearing your words spoken out loud in sentences around a table can make such a difference in re-inspiring you to move forward, or making you realize maybe someplace that you needed to go back and readdress. It's just, I think that we're all afraid to ask too much of the people in the business that we know, because we think, well, they don't have the time and they don't want to. But everyone wants to work, even if it's just to sit around a table and show people what you can do.
Yep. The actors in the room, you can feel this. I'm looking at some of you going, I know that's definitely true for those of you who want to act, is what can I do? What can I bring to life? A few more minutes before we turn it over for questions. The the reality of hoping, this is gonna be what opens a door and then it doesn't happen and we have all these things. It's so true. But it sounds like you shifted and going, okay, I have no control over that, but what do I have control over? I'm going to keep writing. I'm going to keep doing. I'm going to keep making things, putting myself out there. And one of the ways we connected, which ironically didn't work out as we thought, is you, and I want to hear about this. You submitted the short for a contest through Roadmap Writers,
Mhm.
and we have this partnership with Roadmap Writers. You won the contest, and they said to me, Tony, this is the winner of our contest. Do you want to show it at your film festival? I was like, yeah. And it didn't work out the way, we thought, but now we're here going, okay, we have this connection. Let's do this. And who knows
Yeah.
where this will take us.
Yeah.
But it's still opening some things for you here and there. So I don't know if you can share a little bit about kind of how the shift has, evolved for you, about how you can use your work and what other things you are doing while you're not waiting for the door to open anymore. You're just kind of you're making your own doors, right? Is what it sounds like. So talk about anything you want about the roadmap contest and kind of what your future looks like and what the work that you're doing now to get yourself there.
Well, first of all, I love roadmap writers. I've known Joey since he actually worked for Stage 32 and did something similar for them. But I will say that the real difference between most screenwriting contests and honestly most film festivals, and I'm not saying this to be precious, people like you and people like Joey understand the end game isn't winning a contest. The end game is, where are you taking your career? Who are you meeting? What relationships are you building? It's because I have won a lot of screenwriting contests where
Mhm.
I maybe get a check or I get a laurel, and that doesn't help me. It doesn't help any of us. None of us are in this to win a contest. We're all in this to have careers in this business, right?
Come
And
on.
exactly. And so you guys, more than most of the contests I've ever entered are about championing filmmakers, reminding us why we're doing what we're doing, connecting us to people, making introductions, opening that door and allowing us to sort of build a life, because you don't ever know who you're going to meet along the way. Um, I know that with the Dark of Night, it has given me legitimacy. So as a unit unto itself, it hasn't led to a series based on, because we originally actually thought we could make a series out of the Dark of Night, and I still do. And it didn't, lead to a 3 picture deal, and I don't have an overall with Netflix. But what it did is it showed people out there who are looking at me as a writer. And I'm working on a project right now that could potentially be enormous, like not just significant, but huge. And to have something like this in my back pocket or as part of my um, curriculum vitae or whatever you want to call it, to be in the kind of company that you and Joey offer, and to get that endorsement, that level of confidence, to be able to say, you guys are your influence isn't just seen by me. I don't think I'm the only one that looks at you and Joey and says, well, you guys liked this, so that's great. We all know you're the ones who are helping to move us forward in this, because it's not just a laurel or a check. It's, let's keep the conversation going. Let's keep the opportunities going. So I feel like there are contests that are contests for the sake of someone else making a lot of money, and contests that are about writers and filmmakers, and being able to have that relationship with you guys and to meet the people that is a game changer, because I'm currently in the situation I'm in right now, not because of the Dark of Night, but because of relationships. And these relationships are huge. And it could be the start of something absolutely tremendous. But it wasn't because I walked in off the street. It was because I took a chance on someone who took a chance on someone else. And now we're at the place that we're at. So this ability to meet and talk and share and ask questions and be seen is huge.
I'm quoting you on that. That is some good. You just dropped some good sound bites there. I also love that you are not in LA proper, and you don't. You're a great example. You don't have to be, and many of us
Yeah.
on this call, I think, aren't. There's a few people who are in LA on this call, but many of us aren't, and we're going. We can, and we see a future to create and to have a career because of the internet, the way
Yeah.
that the industry is working nowadays. You don't have to live there. So let's talk, because I know we have a lot of questions
Oh, please. I
about the
love questions.
story, about
Okay.
the writing of the story, which has a bunch of twists and turns. We've got people in the comments saying, love the short, so many turns, great short. The film packed a lot into it, so good. So if you all have questions for Denise, now is the time. You can unmute and pop in. Would love to hear any thoughts that you all have and questions you have. So throw your hand up if you'd like, or if you also want to ask, or share anything about your projects and get advice for your projects, you can do that too. But let's bring in Olga, who helps make this possible every Monday. Hi, Olga. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. Denise, I'm your email buddy. So good
I
to see
know. Hi, it's nice to finally meet you.
you. Yes, yes. Thank you so much for amazing comms and for all your knowledge and wisdom and beauty and all the film noir vibes in Dark of Night. It was amazing. Really enjoy the concept and angles and shots. Just beautiful. And because we all have different experiences, we all come from different backgrounds. You're an artist, some people come from legal and they become legal drama writers. I'm from tech, so I write like mental health and tech dramas. And my question to you is, when you decided to really switch to writing, and then you were doing this art project for so long, and you had this amazing artwork pieces that people appreciate and enjoy, how did it help you to incorporate into your writing, like especially that specific niche of gourd art? Is there any skill or maybe mental process or technique you're like, I can apply that and make it into my writing so it helps me to move forward? Just super curious. Thank you.
Oh, no, that's a fantastic question. Thank you. I love that. I've never been asked that before, because as you're talking, I'm thinking problem solving. How, because so much of, and I'm finding this right now with the project I'm currently working on, if you do A, then how does that affect B, C, and potentially Y? So when I was working on gourd art, and I'll just pause there for just a second, gourds are curved in two directions. They're curved around this way, but then they're curved around this way, right? So you have to think ahead. You have to think, if I do water, the water has to follow the shape of the gourd, not the way that I'm seeing, water in a photograph. And so I'm finding that was absolutely true, especially of the Dark of Night. The prompt was that my genre was suspense, my character was a man or woman, and my location was a diner. So what do you do with those things? What is my past experience? I love movies, and I especially love film noir. One of my favorite movies, well, it's not necessarily film noir, but is Best Years of Our Lives, just in how so much was telegraphed in the way something was framed, right? So you take all of those pieces of, most artists work on flat surfaces unless you're a sculptor, but you're working on a surface that's flat, but it's also round. And how do you adjust your vision so that it doesn't end up causing cognitive dissonance because the water doesn't fit the shape of the gourd? In the same way that when we're looking at the story for the Dark of Night, if you've got those three elements and you've got an X period of time to do it in, because I think at that point it was like 12 pages, what are the problem solving skills that I learned in art that allow me to figure out how to tell this story as effectively as possible in the shortest amount of time and brings those skills to bear? And that is, I think, so far my favorite question about this ever. Thank you.
Thank you so
Connecting,
much. Beautiful.
problem solving. I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that.
I think that's kind of why, when they talk about, and this is just a little bit of a side note, but I always kind of really bothered me that, the first thing that schools want to cut are art programs, because they help you think through so many other things. They help you think through sports and cooking and life choices, because you have to make choices about what kind of medium you're going to use and how you're going to apply it, how big you're going to be, and are you going to do oils? Are you going to do watercolors? And all of those things require mental adjustments to make them work. And so I think that that is a great question, because I did bring more to bear from being an artist to writing than I thought.
Thank you. Thank you, Olga. Stacy is up.
Hi, Denise. Thanks so much.
Hi,
Uh,
Stacey.
you mentioned that you had the Sloan grant for development, and I'm interested in that as well because I saw 2 films at the San Francisco Film Festival that were funded with the Sloan grant, and I'm interested in looking at lack of access of tech and other sciences in schools to make those type of issues. And I know Daniel on here has an AI project, and Kelly has a background in aviation, women in science. So could you talk about the grant and your experience?
I hate to say this again, but I kind of really got lucky there. I did not know that the Sloan Foundation grant, a development grant, was a thing. I didn't. I had applied to the Athena Film Festival, and I know that some of this has changed now, so I'll get to that in a second too. But I had applied to the Athena Film Festival with 2 screenplays back in 2017. One ended up on the Athena list, and one was a finalist, which is the only time in the history of the Athena Film Festival that that's ever happened. Well, the Sloan Foundation came to the Athena Film Festival and said, we want to start really promoting STEM research among writers, and you, especially about women writers, and in partnership with Athena, where can we start? What can we do? So unbeknownst to me, they'd sent all of the scripts that they had with a science foundation in them, or engineering or math or any of those sorts of things, to the Sloan Foundation, and basically just called me and said, you won. Like, hey, that has changed. And I'll get to, like I said, in a second. And I'm like, oh, okay, yay. But if you go to the Sloan Foundation website, they've really kind of narrowed it down. I think I got lucky because they were casting their net pretty wide at the time. They were trying to be more inclusive and find projects. But the thing that's very cool about the Sloan Foundation is that they have partnered with the Athena Film Festival. I think they've partnered with the San Francisco Film Festival. Columbia University is one. There are like 2 or 3 more. And so they have several different programs. They have programs where, for example, and I think this is through the San Francisco Film Festival, they have programs where they offer money for you to write a screenplay with a science theme, with a science expert, but on specific topics. They have, I know with Sundance now, Sundance has also partnered, so they actually ask you, that's part of the application for Sundance, for both TV and for episodic and for film. Do you have something that's for STEM research? And so they've, I think by throwing the net really wide at first, they've actually created more opportunities, because now they know what to ask for of you as a writer who maybe already has a project that's ready to go, but also areas that they would really like to support and develop. So that's kind of my experience. Again, was unique. But I do know that they not only offer support at the beginning, but they'll offer it throughout the course of the project as well. So I think the best idea is for you to look on the Sloan Foundation grant website, because it tells you who their partners are and what money they're offering, and who they're offering, and then again, in terms of like, yes, they'll give you money after you've already written something, but then they'll also support you in the writing of. So I think that that's a great resource, and they are so generous and lovely and accessible, which I think is also really important too. So I hope that answers your question. If it didn't, let me know and I'll clarify. But
Yes, it did. Thank you. But I'm just curious, so were you able to continue the project, or?
well, that's actually something I'm working on right now.
Oh, got you.
Yeah, and that's sort of, that's why I'm like, there's something percolating, but I can't really go into what it is. But it was just really but I think the thing that's really interesting about the Sloan Foundation grant, and if anybody does apply for one, sort of typically speaking, they really and this is unusual, I think, they really trust you to know where to use the resources they provide you with. So they don't necessarily say, at the end of the 6th week, we need a report on who you sent it to, or we don't need an updated draft. they trust you to know, maybe in my case, I needed more development. So I was able to hire one of the best script doctors in the business to help me work through this. I was able to spend some of that money going out to Los Angeles and taking meetings about Lucky 13, but that might not necessarily be what you need. You might need different kinds of resources. And the thing that's really, I think, exceptional is that they trust that you know what you need to make your project work. But yeah, it did actually bring me to the point that I'm at now. And don't get me wrong, I'm dying to talk about what I'm doing right now.
Mhm.
But unfortunately,
We'll bring you back when you
there
can.
you go. There you go. Done.
Well, this kind of catapults me. I know Stacy and others. I'm thinking of Gwen too, who's got a short in the works and is writing grants currently. There is a lot of stuff out there, a lot of support, a lot of grants. It does come with a lot of work, right? Sounds like you kind of fell in and it didn't take a ton of work, which is
It's
great. Good for you.
embarrassing.
But I think, like I know Stacey does a lot of research. I think everybody on this group, one of the things that we want to be doing is resourcing each other. And, please use the chat. Okay. People are posting the DeniseMyers.com with all the gourd stuff in there. Thank you, Olga. And if other things come to mind that could be helpful for each other, this is a place to do it, because we want to be elevating and boosting each other's signal for the work that we're trying to do. So thank you, Stacey.
I am gonna interrupt you on that, Tony, because I think that that's really, really, really an important aspect of all of this, is that I think sometimes as filmmakers, we feel like we don't want to share opportunities because we don't want anybody else to know about it, or And I'm not a gay man from Australia, so please bear in mind that this doesn't involve a story about a gay man from Australia. But I got a notice a couple of weeks ago that some company was looking for a gay writer from Australia to do a project. And I'm not that person, but I immediately rushed to a friend of mine who is in Australia, who is gay, to say, you need to be aware of this in case you're not.
Yeah.
So for my money, always being like this, an opportunity might come up that isn't right for you, but I always share opportunities that might be right for someone else, because it's so hard to get through this maze to begin with, that it's not against me at all, or anyone, I don't think, to say, I can't do this, but can you? I don't have a short that's about this project. I get asked all the time, did somebody have any faith-based or any family? I don't have anything like that. But if you do, I'm going to ask you to follow up on it, because I think it's really important to make sure, even if you already know about it, if you don't, I want to help you get there.
I think that is one of the most underrated things that we forget. I know we talk about relationship. Thinking about how you can help others, initiating that before they even ask, that's a part of building relationships too. I have found in this, one of the reasons I started BraveMaker was because I wanted to build relationships for my own career, but I also saw like I would benefit when I started to boost, elevate, and grant and help and platform other filmmakers too, because people see that. And Kelly White, you're next. We'll bring you up here. I think that is something that if you just took like even 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day and thought like, what can I do with the resources I have, or how can I help someone, you would start to see that come back to you. It just is like, treat people how you want to be treated, and it will come back. People will see you thinking of them and then begin to think of you, and get rid of that scarcity mentality of there's not enough to go around, or I don't want to connect a person to so-and-so because what if I lose an opportunity?
Right.
That's really big. So thank you for that. All right, let's bring in Kelly White, filmmaker, producing a bunch of things.
That goes totally with how I'm starting this career and trying. Like, I'm career jumped during the pandemic. I had already been working behind the scenes in my aviation job on a project that I just wanted to learn how to make a film. But that's totally how I'm trying to live this new career jump, is think of abundance, not scarcity. So try to connect other people. And it does come back to you in ways. Tony's introduced me to a number of people that are making connections that then I'm connecting to other people for. I'm thinking of somebody that's getting her first feature director job because, just this connection, but it's down a whole chain of people, but you never know. But I love that part of filmmaking, that it takes everybody from, the APA on a set to the director, writer, star to make something happen. And
Yeah.
if you remove any of those links, you won't have a good film, you know?
Yeah.
So there's so many things that I want to ask you, but we have similar connection. I went to New York Film Academy. So when I jumped ship from aviation, I needed to learn how to produce. And so I did an intensive program at New York Film Academy as well, for producing and to learn to produce. And then one of your set PA, Brian Sabercool on Dark of Night, awesome. He was an AD in the last short that I did through BraveMaker. So he was our AD and he was amazing. So if anybody needs an AD, highly recommend him. So how involved were you as the writer? How involved did you get to stay on set and with Robin, and how much collaboration did you guys get to have on the look and feel and vision? I'm not a writer. I'm a producer. I work with writers all the time, but how much did you get to spend on that time and collaboration?
Again, I was really, really, really fortunate because the environment on House of Cards was dependent on the involvement of writers. The whole culture on House of Cards was the writers were always on set. They were always available to the stars of the show to ask questions, especially in some of the segments that are some of the episodes that Robin directed. So that was just the culture. It was outside their purview to not include me. So I was included on phone calls from the beginning. I was included on the set. I was really surprised. At one point, I needed to go use the bathroom, which was in a second building, and they sent a PA to get me to bring me back because Robin had a question. So it really was incredibly collaborative. And I think that, they didn't need to do that. I know on a lot of sets, people don't include writers. But the fact that my vision was, it was part of the process, I wouldn't say it made it better. It just was a really, like, I didn't get into this to write in a room and then send something off to someone and then stay in that room. I wanted to be a part of this, and they let me and they encouraged it. And it just, again, gave me a lot of confidence to know that as a writer, I think so many of us have been accustomed to the idea that once you're done, they kick you to the curb. But this is my vision too. And I really deeply appreciated that. And in the project I'm working on now, I'm in on all the meetings, and everyone asks me about the story and about the characters and about how we can do this, and looks to me for solutions. And it just is so nice because they wouldn't be there without me.
Right.
And yet this is a collaborative meeting, and we all need to feel like we're not just that we're contributing, but we're seen doing it.
All the projects I'm working on, the writer is a producer on with me, and super collaborative. And I love that. And I love that she liked that, because she was the very first director that we chose for this film. We've never been able to get it to her, but it's but she was our wish list of our, really, to be the director and antagonist actually for it. So it's a true story about women that tried to be astronauts in 1959, period piece too, 1959, 1960, who the Mercury 13 women thought to be astronauts. Oh, you know that story?
Oh yeah. Oh, very well. In fact, I'm friends with, I was friends with Wally Funk, who's still around.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I also had lunch with Janora Jessen at the WASP reunion. So yeah, I actually know it really well.
So me too. So I'm friends with Wally. I have her life rights right now. So that's part of our story.
Right.
And
did you just as a side, did you option the book that Sue Nelson wrote?
Yep.
Oh, good. Because I tried for that. And
my option, Promise the Moon.
Yeah.
There's so many books. Yeah, I have her option right now, and Wally's autobiography. And when you mentioned the number 13, I was like, uh-oh, are we working on the same?
Oh, no. Actually, it's really funny because when I was at the very first time I met Wally, and again, as a side note, I went to my first WASP reunion, and actually, that was the second one. we'd met at the first one. We hung out. I've got pictures with her. Love her story. I invited her to come spend some time here in North Carolina with us and go rafting and all that kind of stuff. But the second year, this was how she introduced me. What are you working on? Something called 13. Like,
well,
hi, Wally, how are you? And she says, why did you end up calling it that? And I said, well, actually, I wrote the first draft of the script in 1992. And at the time, it was about B-17 pilots. 17 pilots went to training and only 13 passed training. So I called it Lucky 13. Oh, okay. All right.
She's very protective of that.
I know.
Yes, because that's only this small piece of her big life.
Yeah.
She's like it, and she's very much, I mean, about
she's a
her.
Handful.
Oh my goodness. She got kidnapped the other day, basically. It's a long story. I don't want to segue away from the whole thing, but I would love to connect with you a little bit on that.
Sure, please. Reach out, please. I love that.
And stuff. And they could, if you don't mind, Olga,
not at all,
us via email or whatever, that would be amazing, because I'd love to kind of chat with you about that.
Yeah, you never know what this group can do. So Denise, I know is making things, and you all are making things. So definitely reach out. And in the chat is also Denise's IG and the website and all that stuff. So
yeah, I'll send all of you my right now. And excuse me, I'm going to send everyone my email. So if anybody has any questions,
look at that.
Wait a second.
Direct content.
I'd love to update you on Wally and stuff too, because I talked with her just yesterday. I talked to
okay, there we go.
Her advocate who helps with her right now. So
yeah. Cool.
I'd love to.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's just, I mean, this is this sort of thing that I see a lot is somebody knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. And the more I'm in this business, and especially where I'm at right now, the more I understand how important it is to work with people that you know, or to be in a position to ask about people that you don't know. Like I worked on I had a producer on a couple different projects, and someone wanted to, he's an actor as well, and someone wanted to cast him in a short that they were doing, and they asked, what did I think about him? What is he like to work with? And I think that that's important too. You still want to, it might not be something that you're doing directly, but it's just knowing that you are in a position to ask people how they feel, because you spend so much time together and it can get so intense. And there can be a lot of misunderstandings, and there's a lot of ego issues and stuff. So I think it's just always nice to really keep that door open and be able to advocate for one another, or ask questions of one another, or clarify things with one another. So
thank you, Denise. This is great.
And your gourd art is beautiful. Blows me away. Your animals and
thank you.
That's amazing.
But problem solving. So
yes,
well, we have time for
an engineer, problem solver. So
time for a couple more questions. If anybody has anything, I just want to know like a lightning round. Like, what are some best practices you're finding in relationship to your creative partners? Like things that you go like, definitely do this, don't do this, in your opinion. What are some opinions of best practices, do's and don'ts? I always love this.
I don't know about anyone else. I can only speak for myself on this particular question. I know that, especially in sort of this weird zone of, I've had some really great things, but I still don't really have the career that I thought I would at this point. I think there's a tendency when you're going into a situation with a production company, or, people that have more of a profile than you do, to just say yes to everything. I can make that work. I can do that. I can jump through that hoop. And what I'm finding, and it adds a lot of pressure, because you think, you say the wrong thing, you do the wrong, and you're out of there, because there's 8,000 people online behind you with a script of their own that they want. But what I've been finding is that it's really, there are hills that you are prepared to die on, and you need to be prepared to defend that hill. In the current situation that I'm in with right now, they wanted a bunch of changes, and I didn't see the point of the changes, but I had to ask myself, okay, is this my ego? Because I spent a lot of time on this. I've thought this through. Are these changes that I can live with? Or are they not? And out of the 10 suggestions, 7 of them, 8 of them, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's not that big of a deal. And I can see why that needs to go. The 8th thing had some specific ideas, but the 10th thing was like, I am absolutely not changing this. And you guys can forget it unless you can change my mind. And everybody kind of weighed in with different variations of what I could do. I did go ahead and change it. I do think it's better. But I was really surprised because everyone in the room said, I really love your passion for this and your willingness to fight for this. Maybe that doesn't make you right. Maybe I don't need to fight enough that I lose out on it entirely. But I think the fact that I was willing to defend it, and I had my arguments, but I was also prepared to set my ego aside if it did actually make it better. That was a big thing. I think that you have to have a safe space with certain people on your team. I have at this point, I think I have 6 producers. 2 of them, I can say anything, but I can't say anything to everybody else because I don't know them well enough. They haven't been with this as long. So I just think it's just a matter of feeling on the one hand, like, well, if you're kind of new to this, you just have to do what they tell you to do because the market's so hard. But on the other hand, they want to know that what really matters to you. And I think that was kind of really surprising to find out. So I think that's really important to share. Because when I was first starting with projects, like I remember there was one project I had where everyone who read it, I changed whatever they had to say. And then the next person didn't like that thing, but they wanted something else. And pretty soon I ended up with a project I hated. I hated it because it was no longer anything about me. And I think at some point you have to be able to say as a writer, no, this is good. I stand behind this. This is what I wanted to say. And if you don't agree, it's up to you to change my mind.
I think, gosh, you're speaking to me so much. Like when you feel as if you don't have as much power as you want, your career's not where it is, you're kind of feeling a little bit of desperation, if you're honest, and you have to say yes to everything. My very first rep in LA, I said yes to because I was like so desperate. I need a rep in LA. And it was not a good fit. And I kind of knew it. My gut kind of knew it, but I was like, well, I'm like these they want to represent me. They're gonna help me. And they got me some meetings. I interviewed for a couple writers' rooms. It was really great. I had an option for a while, but I got treated like horribly, and I never felt good in my conversations. Anytime they were on, it just felt like it was not right. And then eventually they dropped me because I wasn't, advancing there. I'm like, oh my gosh, so
you can't win. So you might as well have a line in the sand, It's like it's funny as you were saying that, because I actually started, and I do love this story. And I know we are probably running out of time, but
a couple more minutes, you're good.
I started at the William Morris Agency on the same day that Brian Lord did.
Who?
Brian Lord.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah. I started at the William Morris Agency the same day that Brian Lord did. And not only did I think this at the time, but I had a chance to say this to him later. I thought Hollywood was going to chew him up and spit him out because he looked like Veronica Lake. Like he's got this beautiful blonde hair and he was so nice and he was so shy and he was so sweet. And obviously he's got this massive career now and I don't. But I write Brian Lord on a regular basis to say, congratulations on the new baby. I hear your daughter got married. I'm sorry, Carrie Fisher died. Like I waited a really long time to ask for his help. It didn't work out for me, which is fine. At least I tried and at least he responded. But I think that, in everything that I see, the longer I stay with this, I see actors that, were somebody huge one day and are out of work now. Somebody had some big series and now they can't get arrested, or the same with writers or producers. This is not like one of the things I remember saying to an actor I know named Jay Ellis, who was in Top Gun, Maverick Top Gun, and he was on Insecure. As I said,
I got to meet him in Sundance. He's great.
Good. Yeah, yes. He's very cool. He's very cool. He actually had a couple of my projects under option at one point, but I remember saying to him, if the film business was like the food business, which I know is a weird analogy, but stick with me. If Doritos came out with a limited edition chip and it sold out, no one at Frito-Lay or whoever owns them now would say, you know what, let's not do that again. And in the film business, something can make an insane amount of money and everyone in Hollywood is like, I don't know, that's kind of a one-off. We don't want to take any chances on that again. So I think it's just, you just have to know that you're doing that. If you believe in it, stand by it, fight for it, network with people, because none of us are in this to win competitions. We're in this to make movies. And I think that is what eventually sets apart a certain kind of writer or filmmaker from all the other writers and filmmakers.
That was great, Denise. Thank you. And I hear in that too the resilience and the perseverance to just keep going. If it doesn't happen on this one, maybe the next one, but you got to find the fulfillment in the process, in the making, and in the present. And that is what I'm taking too. Like, I want to have a career. I want to make a living full time. I don't want to work 45 jobs. I want to be able to do this thing. But I think you're right. It's like it takes as long as it's going to take, and you keep going.
And also, there's no shame in quitting. I quit all the time. I do. I quit all the time. I quit because there is power in quitting until you get another idea or you meet someone that has another idea, and then you unquit. So that's okay too.
Well, let's end with thank you. Give everybody give Denise the flowers, which is perfect because that's the name of your company too, Delicate Flower. Thank you for being generous. So with your time as well as with giving your contact. That's great. Everybody use that gracefully and honoring, and don't be sharing it around, but this is really cool. Please follow Denise on her social media, Ms. Denise Meyers on Instagram, which is in the chat there. And let's take a group photo. I'm going to remove all of our pins, and then we'll take a group photo together so we can smile and put this on our social media and promote this amazing group that you all are doing. Okay, so here we go. On the count of 3, everyone look into your camera and smile. 1, 2, 3, and hold it. Yes, awesome. Thank you. I'll send you this, Denise. And we really appreciate you. Everybody on the replay, you can follow Denise and connect with her. And if you've got a project you want Denise to write, well, then you know where to go. So go to her website. Yeah, right.
Or
Delicate
read.
Flower Films. Oh, you're offering to read? That's amazing.
Why
Delicate
not?
Flower Films. Come on. There's the offer right there, y'all. You heard it, the BraveMaker Mastermind Monday. All right.
Tony, thank you so much. And it was nice meeting all of you. Thank you for signing in today.
Thank you so much, Denise. We'll be in touch.
All right. Bye.
Appreciate it. Bye-bye.